pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. So I would like to congratulate Commissioner Zamudio, I hope I'm getting that name right.
Perfect.
As the new full-time commission member, and also Rachel Furnow as our alternate. Thank you for serving. And the next item on the agenda is election of officers. Let me kind of give a brief hoedown on how this is going to go. The first person who gets elected is the chair for the commission. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to, in a minute, hand the meeting off to Vice Chair Pasiak, and then we will entertain motions for whoever the commission would like to serve as the chair, and then there will be a vote. Vice Chair Pasiak will be conducting all this because it's not right that the chair conducts elections for the chair. And then after that, we will move on to the other office that needs to be elected, which is the vice chair. And hopefully I got all that right. All right, so I'm going to hand it over to Vice Chair Pasiak.
Okay. Nominations for the election of chair for the Planning and Zoning Commission are now open. Do I have any nominations?
Mr. Vice Chair, I'd like to nominate Chuck Merritt for Commissioner.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Any others? Hearing no other nominations are closed. Can we have a vote for chairperson?
Do we want to ask Chuck his
Oh,
feelings?
I'm sorry.
on
All in favor?
this? Aye.
Aye.
I don't think I got asked.
Sorry, Chuck, you're it.
Well, thank you. This has been a lot of interesting things for me serving on the commission. I think it's 11 years now, and either 10 or 11, I'm not sure which, but I'm grateful that you have confidence in me, and I'll keep trying to do the best job I can. Okay, so now we're going to open up the meeting for nominations for the vice chair position. Do we have any nominations?
I nominate Gary Pasiak.
We have a nomination.
I'll second.
Second. Any other nominations? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Obviously. Okay, motion's carried. So we have a continuation of the stumbling hierarchy of the Chino Valley Planning and Zoning Commission. Thank you. So the next item is D, the consent calendar, which is the approval of minutes. I believe that is the only thing on the consent calendar tonight. So has everybody had an opportunity to look the meeting minutes over for the last meeting? Anybody have any corrections? Well, we better do anybody have any corrections for the meetings at all? Minutes? Okay, so do we have a motion?
I make a motion, accept the minutes as printed.
We have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion carried. Okay, so now item E1, which is TA 2023-01, flag lots, a request to amend the Town of Chino Valley Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 154, Sections 4.5, yard, lot, and area requirements to allow for shared access flag lots under certain conditions. Has anybody on the commission talked to anybody or had conversation with anybody about this? Okay, so that's good. Hey, Will.
Hello. All
Howdy.
right. Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the Commission. Will Dengy, Assistant Director here with Town of Chino Valley. As read, this is a requested text amendment for Section 4.5 of the Chino Valley Unified Development Ordinance, as it pertains to flag lots and shared access. This was originally presented to the commission as an information item back on February 7th. Not much has changed from that meeting, but to briefly recap, current code, if I can get the mouse here to scroll up real quick. Current code directs any sort of lot split involving a flag lot to have a minimum separation of at least 100 linear feet or even up to 200 feet, depending upon your zoning district, as shown here in this example on your screen. This is, in certain cases, has become problematic for certain property owners in regards to how their neighbor has previously split their property, forcing them to locate, this mouse is halfway there, essentially restricting where they can place their flagpole. So if this lot here in the middle splits as proposed, or essentially as presented here, the property owner to the left-hand side is forced to place their flagpole on the left-hand side of their parcel. They cannot place them adjacent. And then likewise, well, then the right-hand side would not have that restriction, but we're running into issues with this due to previous splits, how neighbors or property owners have developed their parcels, if they've placed a constructed a home here or whatnot, they essentially have no ability to split their property with a flag lot. So this gives some a little bit more property rights to these individuals. And then it also promotes, excuse me, let me back up here. So what this proposal is now doing is essentially removing that distance separation in certain scenarios to allow for shared access between the two flag lots. So this is essentially what the text amendment is allowing for. You'll have the two flag lots adjacent with the adjacent flag lot or flag lots, the flag poles themselves. Specifically, we'll go through the text itself. So within 4.5 yard lot and area requirements, under number 10 here, which is the section that does govern the flag lots, we are proposing to add letter C. So as read, a maximum of 2 flagpole panhandles adjacent to each other may share access between the two lots. Shared access is defined by each flagpole panhandle having a minimum width of 25 feet for a total of 50 feet minimum frontage between the two, in conjunction with a recorded shared access agreement, which shall be reflected on the land splits record of survey. That is our big thing right here that we're adding tonight, or proposing this evening, which would be reflected here. So this image here reflects the 25 foot on the north end and 25 foot on the south end, and then in conjunction with a shared access agreement across there. This would satisfy current code requirements with the, if I scroll back up, minimum requirement of 50-foot width, and essentially give some property owners the ability to split their property, and then also reduce driveway accesses to specific roads here in Chino Valley. So with that, I will go ahead and open it up to questions from the commission.
Will, would there be any wordage? So if there was an existing flag lot, and he already had a 50-foot flag pole, and then a neighbor wants to create another flag lot right next to that.
Yes.
Is there any kind of text wording that we'd want to put in there that that owner could allow an easement of 25 feet of his existing 50 to allow him access rather than creating another 25 foot for 75?
So the issue that runs into that is that you would no longer have actual frontage for that lot. So if you're...
So in other words, what if that lot where your cursor is right now didn't exist, and the lot owner that already has the flag already has a 50-foot?
50 foot. So you're saying run this lot with the 50 foot here.
Correct. 'Cause
if
it
he
already-
signed it over, he would still have
Right.
frontage.
So,
He'd have to give written easement.
right across that.
Otherwise, the new flag's going to have to put in another hole. Then it's going to end up being
So I absolutely see where you're coming from. What we would end up with is a lot, though, essentially that wouldn't have their actual physical property line connecting to the adjacent street.
correct.
So I think we would want to
So
avoid that.
it could become
Problematic.
possibly landlocked.
Correct. You
So
know,
in that case, you would require an additional.
that's yes. So I know we did speak about that on the 7th meeting, where if there's a 50-foot adjacent existing, they have the potential to deed that 25 feet back. But staff would also have no issue with a 75-foot if we had to. The 50-foot is a minimum.
So, just to muddy the water more,
Yeah.
if the guy has a 50-foot flag and the neighbor puts in a 25-foot flag, can the guy with the 50-foot flag get 25 feet back?
So it wouldn't go to him; it would go to the neighbor. So in that case specifically, so let's continue off of Commissioner Switzer's idea that this gentleman down here has 50 feet. This gentleman up here proposes a 25-foot here. They do a shared access. It wouldn't go back to this gentleman.
Right, it
Yeah.
to the property it came out. That's what I
Correct.
meant. That's what I meant.
Yeah. So
It'll go
yeah,
back- it could go back to the guy that gave up the property to begin with.
it absolutely could.
Oh, okay, that might be something to do. Does that have to be a text amendment, or that's something we just deal with when
We
it
can
comes
just
up?
deal with. Yeah, correct.
Okay. Anybody else?
I know when I lived out in Buckeye, we had properties like this where you had to come down an irrigation ditch to get to the back property. And they didn't deed it. It was just a written legal easement that was in your.
Right. So part of the issue with just running with an easement is part of that subdivision rewrite that we did in 2020. We backed away from using easements because if we start doing that, that triggers subdivision under our current code and state statute. So
Okay.
easements solely functioning as a street kicks in subdivision regulation, and then the flag lots as a whole are not permissible in subdivision. So it would be off the table.
Okay.
Besides, it's just better. It's locked up that way.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right,
All right.
we may call you back. Will.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. We don't have an applicant because we're it. Okay. Open up the portion of the meeting for public comment. On this item only at this point in the meeting. Would anybody, if you come up and speak, please step up to the podium. You're going to get 3 minutes to speak. Be polite, be concise, and not repetitive, which with this outfit doesn't look like that'll be a big deal tonight. So would anybody like to come up and speak on this item from the public? All right, well, I'm going to close the public portion of the meeting. Do we have any more questions for staff? All right. Close the public portion of the meeting. Okay, so I'm going to entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion to move to recommend approval of text amendment TA 202301 as reflected in attachment A, subject to the staff report and information provided during this hearing.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Questions? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to move to item F1, council action on prior P&Z cases.
Action.
I think we had just had the joint planning commission council.
Yeah,
work
correct.
session.
So the items that went on the February 7th Planning Commission meeting were intended to go on the 28th. However, we stole that from the council to do our joint meeting for the general plan, and those items are intended to go next week on Tuesday. It is a final plat off of Old Highway 89, and then that conditional use permit for the mini storage and commercial retail strip along the highway just north of 2 South. So we'll have an update for you next time.
All right. Thank you.
No problem.
Is there anybody on the commission has any questions for staff or any comments that they would like to make? Okay. So we're gonna move to F3, which is the chairman moment. Tonight, all I'm gonna say is thank you very much for my opportunity to serve again as the chairman. I am gonna use this moment as an ongoing resource for people to maybe understand some things about what we're doing that isn't always readily clear for people that don't deal with this stuff regularly. Like water, which we have a joint meeting with the town council coming up. Some other items that may be on this moment will be things like what does it take to bring a grocery store, maybe a little road update from the town engineer on another meeting. Just education items, because we get lots of the repeated questions in the zoning meetings, just to maybe help provide a resource for people. And then I got the high sign from the boss about this nice little planning and zoning case checkoff sheet, which I thought was very well done. Yeah, you guys will get a copy to look at that. Please read this over, make notes. At the next meeting, we'll probably take a moment at this time in the meeting to talk about this a bit or put it on the agenda as a separate item. We'll see how that works out. One of the things that I asked about and was able to get that approved in this draft is, if you look at the last item of item E, it says nay votes explain their votes when everybody votes. And I thought that was kind of unfair, that only the nay votes had to explain their votes, because it sort of put somebody on the spot. And so now we're all going to be given an opportunity to explain why we voted. We don't have to take a bunch of time. It'll be a little bit of my discretion. If it's a unanimous vote, we may not take that opportunity, but if there is some division or whatever, we all need to have our say so the town council knows what we're thinking. That helps them guys decide what to do. So that's part of what we're gonna do here. There will be another checkoff sheet coming, which Lori Lineberry is working on for another way of some of the stuff we do. These checkoff sheets are very helpful. Keeps us on task up here, so that we don't have to think a whole bunch, which is good for me. Okay, so I've already yacked enough. I'm gonna move out of that. Item F4 is an opportunity for anybody in the audience to speak, the public. If you choose to speak, you can speak about any item that's not on the agenda. Can't talk about any of the stuff we've already talked about tonight. You step up to the microphone, state your name, you get 3 minutes, and basically the same rules as in public comment. Would anybody like to take advantage of the opportunity? All right, so we're done with that. Okay. Then our favorite portion of the meeting, motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Well, we did pretty good tonight. Thank you guys for serving. Welcome aboard.
Thank you,
Welcome
sir.
aboard, Rachel.
And Rachel didn't come forward.